The giant ship moved through space like a silver whale swimming through dark water. Captain Vextar stood on the bridge, his blue skin glowing softly under the bright lights. His 4 eyes looked at the screens showing a small blue and green planet ahead of them. "This is it," he said to his crew. "The 3rd planet from the yellow star. Our sensors picked up radio signals from here 3 months ago. The ship was called Nexus Dawn, and it belonged to the Galactic Council. Vextar was from a race called Altarians. They had been exploring space for thousands of years, looking for new intelligent life forms to join their big family of alien races. Dr. Kethra, the head scientist, walked up to the captain. She had 6 arms and looked like a giant purple spider. "Captain, we are ready to scan the planet. Our bioscanners will tell us what kind of life is down there." Vextar nodded. "Begin the scan. Let's see what kind of beings sent those radio signals." Far below on Earth in the mountains of Korea, Jiwon Kim was walking through the forest. He wore the green uniform of a forest ranger. To anyone watching, he looked like a normal human doing his job, but Jiwon was not normal at all. As he walked, a large brown bear came out from behind the trees. Most people would run away, but Jiwon just smiled and nodded at the bear. The bear made a low sound and walked away peacefully. Jiwon felt something strange in his mind. It was like a tickling feeling, as if someone was trying to look inside his head. He knew what this meant. Aliens were scanning Earth. He took out his phone and sent a simple text message. "They are here. Stay hidden." In the city of Busan by the ocean, Minho Park was underwater in his diving suit. He worked as a marine biologist studying sea life, but like Jiwon, he was much more than he seemed. A group of dolphins swam around him. To other people, it would look like the dolphins were just curious about the human, but Minho was actually talking to them without words, using his mind. "Something is coming from the sky," one dolphin told him in thoughts. "It feels like the old stories our grandparents told us." Minho nodded underwater. He also felt the strange tickling in his brain. The scanning had begun. In Seoul, the big capital city, Sora Lee sat in her university classroom. She was studying physics, but she was having trouble paying attention. Her head felt fuzzy, like someone was shining a bright light into her brain. The professor kept talking about electromagnetic waves, but Sora could barely hear him. Something was wrong. She looked around the room, but no one else seemed to notice anything strange. Back on the alien ship, Dr. Kethra was looking at her computer screens with confusion. "This is very strange, Captain. Our scanners are picking up millions of life forms, but what?" Vextar asked. "They are all animals. We see big cats, wolves, bears, birds, fish, whales, but no signs of intelligent life." Another crew member, Engineer Zolpak, checked his instruments. "The radio signals are definitely coming from this planet, but our bioscanners only show animal brain patterns." Vextar frowned. "That makes no sense. Animals cannot build radio transmitters." Dr. Kethra ran the scan again. "Look at this. Here is a forest area where we detected radio signals yesterday, but our scanners only show one human, and his brain pattern looks just like any other mammal. There are also bears, deer, and birds. All normal animal behavior." She pointed to another spot on her screen. "Here is a coastal area. Radio signals came from here too. But we only see one human with a simple animal brain plus dolphins, fish, and seabirds." "What about the cities?" Vextar asked. "The cities are full of humans, but their brain patterns are so simple. They think about basic things like food, sleep, and mating, just like any other animal species. Nothing that shows high intelligence." "Engineer." Solpak shook his head. "Maybe the radio signals are natural. Sometimes planets make electromagnetic waves during storms." Dr. Kethra nodded slowly. "That must be it. This planet just has normal wildlife. The humans are probably like the ape creatures we found on Kepler 442b. They can use simple tools but cannot build complex technology." In his forest, Jiwon smiled to himself. The alien scanners were working exactly as expected. For thousands of years, humans had learned to hide their true thoughts. When aliens scanned their brains, they would only see simple animal thinking. Jiwon looked like he was just checking trees and looking for injured animals. But in his mind, he was actually coordinating with forest rangers all across the world. Using their hidden mental powers, they shared information about the alien ship. Down by the ocean, Minho was doing the same thing. To the alien scanners, he looked like a simple human studying fish. But he was actually talking to sea creatures across all the oceans, building a network of information about the visitors from space. In Seoul, Sora was different. She did not know about the hidden abilities that other humans had. The strange feeling in her head was her own mental powers trying to wake up, but she did not understand what was happening. On the alien ship, Captain Vextar made his decision. There is no intelligent life here, just animals and primitive humans. We are wasting our time. What about the radio signals? Dr. Kethra asked. Natural phenomena, lightning storms, solar activity, maybe magnetic field changes. We have seen it before on other planets. The captain walked to his command chair. Set course for the next system. Add this planet to our records as a wildlife preserve world. No, intelligent species detected. As the alien ship prepared to leave, Jiwan felt the mental pressure disappear from his head. He sent another text message. They are leaving. We fooled them. All around Earth, humans got similar messages. They had successfully hidden their true nature once again. The aliens thought they were just smart animals, nothing more. But in Seoul, Sora was still confused. The fuzzy feeling in her head was getting stronger, not weaker. She did not know that. She was different from other humans. She did not know that her mental abilities were much stronger than normal, and she definitely did not know that her powers were starting to wake up. As the alien ship moved away from Earth, something else was, watching from the dark spaces between stars. Ancient enemies that humans had been hiding from for thousands of years. They had felt the alien scanners touching Earth, and now they were curious about this small blue planet. The devourers had been sleeping in the cold darkness, but now they were beginning to wake up. Soon, they would come to investigate. And when they did, humanity's long game of hide-and-seek would finally come to an end. Captain Vextar looked at Earth one last time before his ship jumped to light speed. He had no idea that he had just scanned the most dangerous and powerful species in the galaxy. A species that had been preparing for war for thousands of years, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true nature. Dear, first contact was over before it had truly begun. But it would not be the last time aliens visited Earth. Next time, humanity might not be able to hide. Dr. Yoonji Han sat in her laboratory late at night, staring at the computer screens filled with strange signals. She worked at KAIST, one of Korea's best science universities, but her real job was much more secret than anyone knew. The radio telescope on the roof had picked up something unusual 3 hours ago. A large object had been near Earth, scanning the planet with powerful energy beams. Now it was moving away, heading toward the outer planets. Yoonji picked up a special phone that looked normal but was actually connected to a secret network around the world. She dialed a number she had memorized years ago. This is Phoenix Base, a voice answered in English. This is Dr. Han in Seoul. We have visitors. They scanned us and left. Classification level 7. Understood. Were we detected? No. The masquerade. Held. But we need to meet. Something felt different about these aliens. Conference call in 2 hours. All regional leaders. Yoonji hung up the phone and sighed. She had been part of the secret network for 15 years, ever since she discovered the truth about humanity. It was not something they taught in schools or universities. It was knowledge passed down through hidden families and secret organizations. The truth was that humans were not normal. They had special abilities that made them different from every other species in the galaxy. But thousands of years ago, humanity had learned to hide these abilities. They had to, because something terrible was hunting intelligent life across the stars. 2 hours later, Yoonji was sitting in her basement, surrounded by computer screens. The secret conference call included 12 people from around the world. There was Dr. James Wright from England, Professor Maria Santos from Brazil, and Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Japan. All of them were scientists, but they were also guardians of humanity's greatest secret. The scanning pattern was different this time, Yunji said into her microphone. More thorough than usual, they spent 6 hours studying our planet. Dr. Wright's voice came through the speakers. Same pattern we detected from Australia. These aliens were definitely looking for intelligent life, not just resources. Professor Santos added, my contacts in the Amazon report that animals were acting strange during the scan, like they knew something important was happening. This was the part that most people would never understand. Humans had not just hidden their own abilities, they had formed partnerships with Earth's animals. When the first humans learned to suppress their mental energy to hide from the devourers, they discovered they could also communicate with other living things. Over thousands of years, these partnerships had grown stronger. Forest rangers, like Jiwan, could work with bears and wolves. Marine biologists like Minho could coordinate with whales and dolphins. Farmers could ask birds to protect their crops. It looked like normal animal behavior to outside observers, but it was actually a complex system of cooperation. The question is, Dr. Wright said, why did they leave so quickly? Usually when aliens find a planet with radio signals, they investigate for weeks or months. Yunji had been thinking about the same thing. I believe they classified us as a primitive species. Their scanners saw what we wanted them to see. Simple animal behavior. They probably think our radio signals come from natural phenomena. Dr. Tanaka spoke up from Japan. That's good news, but it's also concerning. If they report our location to other species, we might get more visitors. And eventually someone might figure out the truth. The truth was complicated and went back to the beginning of human civilization. Long ago, Earth had been visited by creatures that fed on intelligent thought. They were called the Devourers, and they had destroyed dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. But humans had been different. When the Devourers first came to Earth, some humans had a natural ability to hide their thoughts. These humans survived and had children. Over many generations, all humans learned to suppress their mental energy when they needed to. The Devourers had left Earth, thinking it was just another planet full of animals. But humans had never forgotten. They passed down stories and knowledge through secret families. They built hidden organizations to watch the skies and prepare for the day when the Devourers might return. There's something else, Yunji said. I detected some unusual brain activity in Seoul during the scanning. Someone's abilities might be awakening. This was always a concern. Most humans learn to control their mental abilities from childhood, but sometimes people developed powers later in life. When this happened, they needed guidance and training. If they didn't get help, their uncontrolled mental energy could attract unwanted attention. We'll send someone to investigate, Dr. Wright said. Who's our contact in Seoul? Master Donghyun Choi runs the local network. He's been coordinating Korean operations for 30 years. Yunji had met Master Choi several times. He looked like a normal elderly man who ran a small bookstore in the old part of Seoul. But he was actually one of the most powerful humans alive, capable of hiding the mental signatures of an entire city when necessary. After the conference call ended, Yunji sat alone in her basement thinking about the situation. The alien visit was troubling, but it also reminded her of something important. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for thousands of years. Every human child learned certain skills that seemed normal, but were actually part of the great masquerade. They learned to meditate and control their thoughts. They learned to work with animals and understand nature. They learned martial arts and physical training that also helped develop mental discipline. Most people thought these were just cultural traditions or hobbies. They didn't realize they were actually training to be soldiers in a war that had been going on for millennia. In his forest, Jiwan was having his own meeting with the local network. 3 other forest rangers had gathered at a hidden cabin deep in the mountains. To anyone watching, it would look like friends having a camping trip. But they were actually coordinating the defense of the entire Korean peninsula. The aliens seemed friendly enough, said Hyun, an older ranger who had been part of the network for 40 years. But their scanning technology was more advanced than anything we've seen before. Jiwan nodded. I had to work harder than usual to maintain the masquerade. My bear friends noticed it too. They said the mental pressure felt different. This was why the animal partnerships were so important. Animals were sensitive to psychic energy in ways that most humans had forgotten. They could detect threats that human technology might miss. "We need to be more careful," said Nari, the only female ranger in their group. "If more advanced aliens keep coming, someone might eventually see through our disguise." Down by the ocean, Minho was having similar conversations with his network of marine biologists and Coast Guard officers. The dolphins and whales had been particularly disturbed by the alien scanning, and they were still agitated hours after the ship had left. "Something is coming," an old whale had told him through their mental link. "The deep waters remember this feeling from the ancient times. The hungry ones are stirring." Minho knew what the whale meant. The devourers were not gone forever. They were still out there somewhere in the dark spaces between stars, and they were always looking for new sources of intelligent energy to consume. In Seoul, Sora Lee was walking home from the university with a terrible headache. The strange feeling in her brain had not gone away after the morning classes. If anything, it was getting stronger. She stopped at a convenience store to buy some aspirin, but when she reached for her wallet, something odd happened. The cash register's display started flickering. The fluorescent lights above her head began to buzz loudly. Other customers looked around in confusion. Sora quickly grabbed her medicine and left the store. As she walked away, the electrical problem stopped. She didn't notice that several birds had gathered on the power lines above the store, all of them looking at her with unusual interest. The masquerade was starting to crack, and humanity's greatest secret was about to be revealed. But they didn't know that other eyes were watching from the darkness between stars. The devourers had felt the alien scanning too, and they were beginning to remember a small blue planet they had visited long. The game of hide-and-seek that had lasted for thousands of years was about to end. Captain Vexistar was reviewing star charts when the emergency alarm started screaming through his ship. Red lights flashed on every wall, and his crew members ran to their stations with fear in their eyes. "Captain!" Dr. Kethra shouted from her science station. "Something is coming out of deep space. Multiple contacts moving at incredible speed." Vextar looked at the main screen and felt his blood turn cold. Dark shapes were appearing from nowhere, like shadows coming to life in the emptiness between stars. They moved wrong, bending space around them in ways that hurt to look at. "How many?" he asked. 17 ships? No, 23. The number keeps changing. "Captain, these are not ships. They're something else." Engineer Zolpak was frantically working at his control panel. "Sir, they're jamming our communications. We can't send a message to the Galactic Council." The dark shapes moved closer, and now Vextar could see them clearly. They looked like giant insects made of black metal and shadow, but they weren't really machines. They were alive, and they were hungry. "Devourers," he whispered. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories. The Devourers were ancient creatures that fed on intelligent thought. They traveled from star to star, consuming entire civilizations. Billions of beings had died when the Devourers came to their worlds. "Battle stations," Vextar ordered. "All weapons online. Send a distress signal toward that blue planet we just scanned. Maybe someone there can carry our message to other worlds." But even as he gave the orders, he knew it was hopeless. The Devourers never left survivors. On Earth, Sora Lee was sitting in her bedroom trying to study for her physics exam, but the words in her textbook kept blurring together. The headache that had started that morning was getting worse, and now she was hearing strange sounds that seemed to come from inside her own head. Suddenly, the sounds became screams. Sora dropped her book and grabbed her head as waves of pain and terror crashed through her mind. It felt like thousands of people were dying all at once, their thoughts crying out across the darkness of space. Without knowing why, she opened her mouth and screamed back. The sound that came out was not human. It was pure mental energy, a psychic shout that blasted outward from Seoul like a bomb made of thoughts. Every human in the city felt it. Every animal stopped what it was doing. Every machine with electronic circuits flickered or shut down. In his forest, Jiwon dropped to his knees as Sora's scream hit him. He had never felt psychic energy so strong. Bears and wolves came running from all directions, sensing that something terrible was happening. Jiwan pulled out his emergency phone and called the number he hoped he would never have to use. "This is Emergency Protocol 7, he said when someone answered. "We have a code red situation in Seoul. Someone just broke through all masquerade protocols." Down by the ocean, Minho was underwater when the psychic scream reached him. Even through 30 feet of seawater, the mental energy was so powerful that his diving mask cracked. Dolphins and whales began singing alarm calls that could be heard for miles. He swam to the surface as fast as he could and called his own emergency number. "The masquerade is blown. Someone in Seoul just announced our presence to the entire galaxy." In his bookstore in Seoul, Master Dong-Yun Choi was drinking tea when Sora's scream shattered every piece of glass in his building. He was not angry or afraid. He had been waiting for this moment for 70 years. He walked to a hidden door behind his bookshelf and opened a room that contained technology far beyond anything most humans had ever seen. Computers, communication devices, and weapons that looked like they belonged on alien spaceships filled the secret chamber. Master Choi picked up a device that looked like a simple radio, but was actually connected to every hidden human network on Earth. "This is Phoenix Command," he said calmly. "The masquerade is over. All units move to Battle Protocol 1. The Devourers have returned." Around the world, humans who had been hiding their true nature for their entire lives suddenly stopped pretending. In New York, a janitor who seemed like a simple man revealed that he could control electronics with his mind. In Tokyo, a grandmother who ran a flower shop began coordinating with birds across the entire city. In London, a bus driver started communicating with every dog and cat in a 10-mile radius. The greatest secret in human history was finally being revealed. Sora was still screaming when her apartment door burst open. Master Choi walked in, followed by 2 other people she had never seen before. They moved carefully like they were approaching a dangerous animal. "Sora Lee," Master Choi said in a calm voice, "you need to listen to me very carefully. You are not going crazy, and you are not sick. You are awakening to abilities that every human possesses but most learn to hide." Sora's scream died away, but her eyes were wild with fear and confusion. "What's happening to me? I can hear people dying in space. I can feel their pain." "The Devourers have found us," Master Choi said. "The creatures that our ancestors have been hiding from for thousands of years. They are attacking alien ships near our planet, and their victims' thoughts are reaching you because you are one of the most powerful psychics ever born." He sat down next to her and took her hands. His touch was warm and calming, and Sora felt some of the chaos in her mind begin to settle. "Every human has mental abilities," he explained. "We learn to hide them because the Devourers hunt intelligent life. They feed on thoughts and consciousness. But now they have found Earth anyway, and hiding is no longer possible." Master Choi looked out her window at the city of Seoul. "For thousands of years we have been preparing for this day. Every human culture, every tradition, every skill we teach our children. It's all been part of a great plan to survive when the Devourers came back." Sora wiped tears from her eyes. "What do you mean?" "Martial arts teach us to focus our minds and bodies. Meditation helps us control our psychic abilities. Working with animals creates networks of allies across the planet. Even our technology is more advanced than we let anyone believe." He pointed to her broken textbooks. "You are studying physics, but you don't know that human scientists solved faster than light travel 50 years ago. You think we just barely reached the moon, but we have secret bases throughout the solar system." In space, Captain Vexitar's ship was dying. Half his crew was already dead, their minds drained by the Devourers' feeding tentacles. The alien captain himself was barely conscious, fighting to stay alive long enough to send one last message. Anyone who can hear this," he whispered into his communicator. "Devourers, attacking, warn the galaxy. Please." His message was weak and distorted, but it reached Earth's hidden receivers. Master Choi heard it in his secret room. Jiwan heard it in his forest. Minho heard it underwater. "The alien ship is under attack," Master Choi told Sora. "The same creatures that killed their crew will come to Earth next. But this time, humanity will not hide." He stood up and walked to her window. In the streets below, people were looking up at the sky with worried expressions. Animals were behaving strangely. Birds flew in organized formations. Dogs and cats gathered in groups. Even insects seemed to be following some invisible pattern. "What you felt when you screamed, Master," Choi said, "was your mind connecting to the planetary defense network. Every human, every animal, every living thing on Earth is now linked together in a way the Devourers have never encountered before." Sora joined him at the window. The fear was still there, but now she also felt something else. Power. Purpose. Connection to something vast and ancient and very, very angry. "They think we are just animals," she said quietly. "But we're not." Master Choi smiled. "No. We are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and they are about to find out why our ancestors chose to hide instead of fight." In the darkness above Earth, the Devourers finished feeding on the alien crew and turned their attention to the blue planet below. They remembered this world from long ago. It had been full of delicious thinking creatures, but when they arrived, they found only animals. Now something had changed. The planet was singing with psychic energy. Intelligent thoughts blazed from every continent like beacon fires in the night. The hunt was about to begin. The moment Master Donghyun Choi gave the order, everything changed. Across Earth, millions of humans stopped pretending to be normal. In cities and forests, on mountains and under the ocean, people who had spent their entire lives hiding their true abilities finally let their power show. Ji-won stood in his forest clearing as every animal within 50 miles came to join him. Bears, wolves, deer, and eagles gathered around him like soldiers reporting for duty. But these weren't just animals anymore. They were partners in humanity's greatest secret. "Old friends," Ji-won said to a massive brown bear that had been his companion for 20 years. "The hiding time is over, now we fight." The bear made a deep rumbling sound that other people would think was just animal noise. But Ji-won heard the real message. "We have been waiting. The forest remembers the hungry shadows from the ancient stories. We are ready." All around the world, similar scenes were happening. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous shamans, who the outside world thought were primitive, were actually coordinating with millions of birds, monkeys, and jaguars. In the African savanna, rangers who seemed to be simple wildlife protectors were commanding entire herds of elephants and prides of lions. Down by the Korean coast, Minho was no longer alone in the water. Whales, dolphins, sharks, and countless fish had gathered around him. The ocean itself seemed to be alive with purpose and intelligence. The deep singers remember, an ancient whale told him through their mental link. The devourers of thoughts came before, when the ice was different, and the land was younger. But this time, the swimmers and the walkers fight together. Minho nodded and reached out with his mind to touch the global network. Instantly, he could feel every human on Earth. Billions of minds connected like points of light in a vast web of consciousness. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. In Seoul, Sora was learning things that changed everything she thought she knew about the world. Master Choi showed her the secret room beneath his bookstore, but it was much bigger than she had expected. Underground tunnels connected to other hidden rooms throughout the city. Advanced technology filled every space, computers that looked decades ahead of anything she had seen, weapons that seemed to be made from solid light, and screens showing views of space that no normal human should have been able to access. "How is this possible?" Sora asked. "We never stopped advancing," Master Choi explained. "While we pretended to be simple animals, our best scientists were working in secret. We have had faster-than-light communication for 60 years. We have energy weapons that can destroy asteroids. We even have bases on Mars and Europa." He led her to a central command station where dozens of screens showed the situation around Earth. The dark shapes of the devourers were moving closer to the planet, but they were moving slowly, like predators stalking prey they thought was helpless. "They remember Earth as a planet full of primitive animals," Master Choi said. "They expect easy hunting. They have no idea what we really are." On the screens, Sora could see human technology that she had never imagined. Satellites that looked more advanced than alien spacecraft, underground facilities that extended for miles beneath major cities, aircraft that moved without making sound, and ships that traveled beneath the ocean at impossible speeds. Every human child learns skills that seem normal but are actually combat training, Master Choi continued. Martial arts, meditation, working with animals, understanding nature. We told people these were cultural traditions, but they were really preparation for war. Sora thought about her own childhood. She had learned taekwondo, practiced meditation, and always felt strangely connected to animals. She had thought these were just hobbies, but now she realized they had been training for this moment. What about my abilities? She asked. Why are they so strong? Master Choi smiled sadly. Because you are what we call a natural amplifier. You can take the psychic energy of thousands of people and make it stronger. In the coming battle, you will be our most important weapon. Above Earth's atmosphere, the lead devourer was tasting the psychic energy rising from the planet below. It was confused. The last time they had visited this world, the thoughts had been weak and scattered. Now the entire planet blazed with organized intelligence. But the devourer was not afraid. It had fed on thousands of civilizations. No species had ever successfully fought back against the hunger that came from beyond the stars. It sent a message to its companions. Begin the feeding. Take everything. The devourers spread out around Earth like a net made of shadow and hunger. They extended their feeding tentacles toward the planet, ready to drain every intelligent thought from the billions of minds below. But when their tentacles touched Earth's atmosphere, something impossible happened. The planet fought back. Sora felt the moment when the devourers began their attack. Every human on Earth felt it too, a terrible sucking sensation, as if something was trying to pull their thoughts right out of their heads. But instead of being helpless victims, humanity responded as one. Now, Master Choi shouted into his communications device. Across the planet, every human reached out with their mind and grabbed onto the psychic energy of the people around them. Sora found herself at the center of a mental network that included her entire city. Jiwan connected to every forest ranger in Asia. Minho linked with marine biologists across all the oceans. But it wasn't just humans. The animals joined the network, too. Billions of birds, mammals, fish, and even insects added their life energy to humanity's defense. For the first time in Earth's history, every living thing on the planet was working together. The devourers had expected to find scattered, frightened thoughts that would be easy to consume. Instead, they encountered a unified planetary consciousness that hit back with focused power. The lead devourer screamed as psychic energy burned through its feeding tentacles. This was not supposed to happen. Prey did not fight back. Prey was helpless and afraid. But humans were not prey. Fire the orbital platforms, Master Choi ordered. Around Earth, hidden weapons that had been disguised as weather satellites suddenly revealed their true purpose. Beams of pure energy, powered by the psychic force of billions of connected minds, lashed out at the devourer ships. The creatures that had destroyed countless civilizations found themselves under attack by weapons they had never seen before. Energy that was part technology and part mental power cut through their dark hulls like knives through paper. In her command center, Sora was glowing with psychic energy. She could feel the power of every human on Earth flowing through her, and she was shaping it into a weapon that could reach across space. I can see them, she said, her voice echoing with power. They're not just ships. They're alive and they're afraid. She was right. For the first time in millions of years, the devourers were experiencing fear. They had encountered something they had never seen before. A species that had spent thousands of years preparing for this exact moment. Jiwan stood in his forest, surrounded by animals whose eyes were glowing with shared psychic energy. He reached out with his enhanced senses and could feel every devourer ship above the planet. Target the big one on the left, he said to Master Choi through their mental link. Minho was doing the same thing from the ocean. Whales and dolphins were helping him calculate distances and angles, while their combined psychic force powered weapons that existed both in the physical world and in the realm of pure thought. The battle above Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Devourers, who had been the ultimate predators for millions of years, were being hunted by their former prey. But the war was just beginning. There were thousands more Devourer ships scattered across the galaxy, and they would come when they sensed what was happening at Earth. Humanity had revealed its greatest secret. Now they would have to prove that they were strong enough to survive what came next. The lead Devourer ship was dying, and it knew it. For millions of years, these ancient creatures had fed on the thoughts of intelligent species across the galaxy. They had destroyed entire civilizations, consuming billions of minds without ever facing real resistance. But now, above a small blue planet, they were learning what fear felt like. Sora stood in Master Choi's command center, her body glowing with psychic energy that came from every human on Earth. She could feel the pain and terror of the dying Devourers, but she felt no sympathy for them. These creatures had hunted her species for thousands of years, forcing humanity to live in hiding and pretend to be animals. "The big ship is breaking apart," she reported, her voice echoing with power from millions of connected minds. "But there are more coming from deep space, hundreds of them." Master Choi nodded calmly. He had been preparing for this moment his entire life. Then we show them why humanity survived when other species did not. In his forest, Jiwan was coordinating with animals across 3 continents. Bears, wolves, and eagles in Korea worked, together with lions and elephants in Africa, jaguars in South America, and even polar bears in the Arctic. For the first time in Earth's history, every living thing was part of the same network. But it wasn't just animals. The plants were helping too. Forests around the world were generating oxygen and energy that fed the global psychic network. Even the oceans were involved, with whales and dolphins coordinating with coral reefs and schools of fish to create a planetary defense system that the Devourers had never encountered. "They're not just feeding on thoughts," Jiwan realized as he studied the enemy ships through his enhanced senses. "They're trying to understand how we work together. They've never seen a species that includes other life forms in their consciousness." This was humanity's secret advantage. Other intelligent species in the galaxy had developed technology and psychic abilities, but they had always seen themselves as separate from the animals and plants on their worlds. Only humans had learned to include all life in their mental networks. Down by the ocean, Minho was working with sea creatures to coordinate Earth's most ambitious defense yet. Whales were using their deep songs to carry psychic energy across entire ocean basins. Dolphins were acting as messengers between different parts of the network. Even tiny plankton were contributing their life force to the planetary shield. "Water remembers," an ancient whale told him. "Long before humans walked on land, the ocean learned to think as one mind. Now the swimmers and the landwalkers are truly united. Above Earth, more Devourer ships were arriving every hour, but instead of the easy prey they expected, they found a planet that fought back with weapons they couldn't understand. The orbital platforms that had been disguised as satellites were revealing their true capabilities. Each one was powered, not just by advanced technology, but by the focused mental energy of millions of humans. The beams they fired were part laser, part psychic force, and entirely devastating to creatures that fed on unprotected thoughts. But the real surprise came when the Devourers tried to use their most powerful weapon, the ability to drain intelligence from entire planets at once. When the lead Devourer ship extended its feeding tentacles toward Earth and began the process that had destroyed countless civilizations, something impossible happened. The planet absorbed the attack and sent it back, 1,000 times stronger. Sora felt the moment when Earth's defense network reached its full power. Every human, every animal, every plant, even the bacteria in the soil were connected in a single vast consciousness that spanned the entire planet. "I can feel everything," she whispered in amazement. "Every blade of grass, every fish in the ocean, every bird in the sky. We're not just human anymore. We're Earth itself." The Devourer ships were built to consume individual minds or even the thoughts of entire species, but they had never encountered a planetary consciousness that included every living thing on a world. When they tried to feed on humanity, they instead touched the combined life force of an entire biosphere. The result was like a feedback loop that burned out their feeding systems. Instead of consuming Earth's thoughts, the devourers found their own consciousness being overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of a world where billions of different life forms all shared the same mental network. Master Choi watched his screens as one after another, the devourer ships began to retreat. These ancient predators were encountering something they had no way to fight, a prey species that had evolved specifically to defeat them. "Open communications to any surviving alien ships in the area," he ordered. A weak signal came through from Captain Vextar's damaged vessel. The Altarian captain was barely alive, but his ship's systems were still functioning. This is Captain Vextar of the Galactic Council ship Nexus Dawn," came the faint voice. Did you save us?" "This is Earth Command," Master Choi replied. "Captain, your ship is safe. The devourers are retreating." There was a long pause. "Earth Command? But you're just animals. Our scanners showed..." "Your scanners showed exactly what we wanted them to show," Master Choi said with a smile. "Captain, we need to talk. There are some things about humanity that the galaxy doesn't understand." Over the following days, as the last of the devourer ships fled back to deep space, Earth began to reveal its true nature to the galaxy. Captain Vextar and his surviving crew were invited to secret human bases that existed throughout the solar system. They saw technology that was decades ahead of Galactic Council science. They met humans who could communicate telepathically with alien species, understand foreign languages instantly, and coordinate with Earth's animals in ways that seemed like magic. "How long have you been hiding this?" Captain Vextar asked as Master Choi showed him through a facility on the moon that the aliens had never detected. "About 3,000 years, Master Choi replied. "Ever since the first devourer attack. We learned that the best way to survive was to make our enemies think we were too primitive to be worth hunting." Sora had become the primary liaison between Earth and the Galactic Council. Her abilities as a psychic amplifier made her uniquely qualified to communicate with alien minds while representing the unified consciousness of her planet. "The devourers will return," she told the alien delegates who came to Earth seeking humanity's help. "They always do. But now we can teach other species how to hide from them, or how to fight back." This was the beginning of a new age for the galaxy. Planets that the devourers had classified as primitive wildlife worlds began revealing that they too had intelligent species hiding in plain sight. Some had developed techniques similar to humanity's masquerade. Others had found different ways to avoid detection. Jiwan became the head of the Interspecies Wildlife Cooperation Program, teaching alien worlds how to work with their native animals instead of simply dominating them. Many species discovered that their planet's dumb animals were actually much more intelligent than they had realized. Minho led the effort to explore the galaxy's oceans, finding that water-based life forms often had natural telepathic abilities that could be developed into planetary defense networks. The Galactic Council, which had ruled space for thousands of years, found itself dealing with dozens of new member species that were far more advanced than anyone had suspected. Earth became the headquarters for a new alliance dedicated to protecting intelligent life from the devourers and other threats. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy thought about intelligence itself. The old model, where each species developed alone and competed with others, was replaced by Earth's example of cooperation between all life forms on a planet. "We're not just fighting the devourers," Sora explained to a gathering of alien scientists. "We're showing the galaxy a different way to evolve. Instead of each species trying to dominate their world, we learned to work together with every living thing on our planet. That's what made us strong enough to survive." The masquerade was over, but humanity's real work was just beginning. They had spent thousands of years hiding from their enemies. Now they would spend the next 1,000 years teaching the galaxy how to fight back. And in the dark spaces between stars, the devourers were learning that their age of easy hunting was over. For the first time in millions of years, their prey had become predators. The galaxy would never be the same.